Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I want to start with a show of hands question. How many of you have helped a loved one navigate and find care? Okay, most of the room. How many of you felt completely prepared to do it? Oh, wow. Okay, that's good. I want to take tips from both of you. Most hands went up when I asked about how many of you have helped find care for a loved one. Very few went up when I asked how many of you were prepared. I know this is not a surprise to those of us in the room. And if as insiders, we don't feel ready for the moment, how do we anticipate everyday families to really feel like it? About 2 weeks ago, I went to my 20th business school reunion, and I ran into an old friend, Sarah. She's an investment banker now, works at one of the largest banks in the world, has a very important job. And she said to me that 2 weeks prior to that, her mom took a fall. She took a fall, she broke her hip, and in a matter of 48 hours, Sarah went from planning a European family vacation for this summer with her teenage boys to then calling 10 doctors, home care agencies, pouring through paperwork, policy, structure, and really just figuring out how to help mom. You know, she's a very successful professional individual, but in that moment, she was incredibly concerned. She just didn't want to screw it up. She talked about not knowing how to navigate and feeling really, really stressed that she was going to mess it up. At that moment, it didn't just feel hard for her. It felt really unsustainable. And when you think about why that happens, you know, we see this story one too many times in our business. Families have a triggering event. Somebody falls, somebody's discharged, somebody has a diagnosis, and the first thing they do is they go to Google, and they do a Google search of how might they find help. Right? They're calling friends and family and strangers and neighbors to try and figure out who can help them. Oftentimes, the burden and the stress of what it's going to cost them comes forth the first time. Right? Many of these people don't know how to pay for it. And then even if they know how to pay for it, the entire experience feels incredibly fragmented. They don't know how to navigate this. Right? This causes confusion, urgency, loneliness, guilt. Right? These are all of the emotions we've seen one too many consumers, policyholders go through. Fatigue. Right? This doesn't feel like a care journey. It feels like crisis management. Family, Sarah, became a project manager overnight. She became a system navigator overnight. And these families and these daughters, they're all doing it alone. And we step back and we think about this doesn't have to be that hard. I feel like other industries have found a better way. They found the blueprint. Industries that look like ours transformed and thought about different models that really enabled them to think about innovation, Home Care Innovation Forum, innovation and transformation that thought about new ways to address problems that they had. Healthcare. About 40 years ago, healthcare started with HMOs and PPOs. Credentialed network of providers. Preferred pricing for members who go through that. Guided access. I was at a conference a couple of months ago in Scottsdale at one of the national providers. And I asked the room, I said, you know, raise your hand if you have healthcare, medical care. And obviously many of them raised their hands. I said, when you go to a doctor, a chiropractor, a cardiologist, do you typically stay in network? And they said yes. And I said, why? They said quality, price, bingo. That's what they did for the healthcare network. Travel. Travel used to be disjointed. Each of the things we booked, flights, hotels, activities, car rental, but platforms brought it together. Amex brought personalized guidance together. What is the type of vacation you want to have? When you go to Amex and you book hotels to them, you're not going to stay at a riffraff hotel. right? You have trust and confidence there. And finance, my old industry, figured this out. RIAs, how do we do transparency? How do we do fiduciary duty? How do we help people find vetted quality care? Every industry in one of these reached a tipping point where trust, curation, infrastructure won. And I think aging care is next. Think about the experience we have today. On the left, even if the older adult is at the center, every connection really depends on them to make it, or their daughter, or their spouse. The families are making the connections to each of those parties themselves, right? It's kind of like a router at our house. The wireless router connects to many, many devices, but the devices don't really speak to each other. It's a fragmented, siloed experience. On the right, a more collaborative model where the system becomes the connector. Where at our house, we don't need more devices connecting to the router. We need devices talking to each other. The consumer, the aging person, or their family in the middle, but a series of things happening around them that help deliver the things they want: quality credentialing, integrated data, guided access. What if we had a system that families didn't have to stitch together? And that is what we're building, right? I stood on stage last year at this time, and I told you about the bold vision we had, what CareScout was going to build. We were in about 20 states at the time with about 100 and 150 providers. And I'm really thrilled to say we're not just imagining this, we're operating this right now, right? We said to you at the time that we want to become the aging care platform of the future. We want to be akin to the Amazon of aging care, where people go for one-stop shop needs around aging with confidence, dignity, and grace. We want to launch 3 solutions: funding care, insurance solutions coming later this year, selling new LTC insurance to consumers, planning for care, so assessments, evaluation, wellness, what help do you need? And then finding care, care navigation, care quality networks. We've built the 3rd, we're launching the 2nd next month, and we're launching the 1st in Q3. And we've done that with a lot of partners in the room, right? I'm so excited. I see Chris and Melissa from The Key. I see Jake from Always Best. I see Andy from Brightstar. These are all national partners, and then several super regionals and one-off partners that have joined us to really build the future of aging care. So our provider network from last year at this time to now is now over 500 providers serving nationwide. They have person-centric standards. They go through 20 points of credentialing. They offer members discounts. Our customer reach has expanded quite significantly. We were with 1 insurance carrier last year. We have 3 on the platform now. By the end of the year, we'll have 5. By end of next year, I think we will have most of the insurance carriers sending their policyholders through us, where we will help them navigate care. Later this year, we'll launch direct-to-consumer. We've earmarked about $100 million over the next 7 years to spend on brand and marketing to really make CareScout a familiar name in the industry. We're building our pipeline, we're building our consumer base to make sure that partners in our network really benefit and build truly the Amazon of aging care. We think this is a win-win-win model. Consumers get confidence. They get high quality, they get preferred price, they get service. Providers, you get access to insurance customers, access to private pay customers. You get a brand halo as you go through the quality network. And you get trust, you get insights, you get tools, you get capabilities as we learn more from our first 2 solutions of how to support customers. And then insurers win because they see lower claims costs, they see better quality outcomes, and they see satisfaction. This is why insurers have started to join us. Any of you who have sold to insurance know how long the process is. And we're really excited the domino is starting to fall, and we're seeing more and more people come on the system. What we envisioned with CareScout is this is really going to transform how people think about aging care. So why now, and why does this all matter to you, right? I want you to think about, are any of these things affecting your business? Are any of these trends affecting you? Your referrals are intermediated. They're coming from sources that are not direct. Your customer acquisition costs are rising. Your consumers expect simplicity, right? They want guidance, not a list, not a directory. And then the care planning is either happening a lot sooner or needs to happen a lot sooner. These to us are not just hypotheticals. They're happening now. Right? So the question is not if, it is. And so my question to you in the room is, are you in the network? Are you in the new system? Or are you just nearby it? Because what we imagine is that the future will truly be collaborative. And collaborative with input and constructive partnership in the room. You know, Jake said to me earlier, some of his franchisees want to talk to us about how we can make the system better for consumers and providers. And we welcome that because we are new and we're trying to build something and do our part in really transforming how people age. I feel our industry is at a point where trust, not access, trust, not access is the product. And where consumers go for trust will matter. Right, when I think about healthcare, I think about, is this our PPO moment? We've never had a PPO in long-term care. Is this our PPO moment where consumers can go for quality, price, and service and feel good? Those of us who have medical insurance and go and stay in network, we go for the same reason. So is this the PPO moment for aging care? I feel like in aging care, collaboration is how we're going to get there. Collaboration is how we're going to get to happier faces, more confident faces. And building the right infrastructure collectively is how we'll do it. That moment for us is really now. Because no daughter like Sarah should ever have to piece this thing together again for their aging parent. Thank you for listening.